We've gone over it a few times, but Donald Drumpf is the most despicably anti-American creature to ever run for office in America. He has bashed Gold Star family, the Khans, repeatedly. Drumpf's first ridiculous allegation, because he's such a thin-skinned coward and pussy, was to suggest that he was viciously attacked.
I was viciously attacked.
We should only admit into this country those who share our values and respect our people. I call it extreme vetting. To put these new procedures in place, we will have to temporarily suspend immigration from some of the most dangerous and volatile regions of the world that have a history of exporting terrorism.
Donald Trump consistently smears the character of Muslims. He disrespects other minorities, women, judges, even his own party leadership. He vows to build walls and ban us from this country. Donald Trump, you're asking Americans to trust you with their future. Let me ask you, have you even read the United States Constitution? I will gladly lend you my copy.
Prior to that, his thoughts were that the reason why Mrs. Khan didn't speak, being emotionally challenged by this horrifying event, to remember that her son, a U.S. soldier, born to an immigrant to this country, just like Drumpf himself, his mother was an immigrant to this country, served our country and died for it, unlike anyone in Drumpf's family. The Khan's son died serving the United States of America in our military. So Drumpf said that he had been viciously attacked. Prior to that, he said that probably, before he cut himself off and said maybe, he said probably Mrs. Khan wasn't allowed to speak, implying that Islam, the Muslim faith, would keep her from speaking publicly about her son and the horrifying loss, rather than just letting the male, her husband, speak for her.
If you look at his wife, she was standing there. She had nothing to say. Maybe she wasn't allowed to have anything to say. You tell me, but plenty of people have written that.
Drumpf doesn't tune in too much to reality. He generally likes to tweet, and his tweeting and his anger and his thin-skinned appetite for self-aggrandizement and everything else disturbs his view of reality. Mrs. Khan had already spoken about the loss of her son in great detail. Donald Drumpf was suggesting that Mrs. Khan didn't speak because her husband wouldn't let her speak. That's since been proven a myth, and was at the time anyway, because Drumpf is too stupid to know that she spoke previously about that and was so choked up in such a major event in front of so many people, millions, if not billions of people worldwide, that she chose not to speak. If there's anything that Drumpf is self-funding, it's his own maniacal ego. He was born with a silver spoon up his ass, and it's still there. Only now he's borrowing to keep it there. He likes to give the impression that he's wealthy, but he's not wealthy. He's probably penniless at this point. His brand is worth shit. He is worth shit. His poll numbers are worth shit. The only one clamoring for a taste of Donald Drumpf are Nazis and kooks. That's it. The Khan's son is a hero, an American hero who is the son of an immigrant. So you might be weeding out the next U.S. soldier who saves U.S. lives by banning Muslims or by banning Muslims from specific areas or countries. Now we have the very interesting perspective of just what extreme vetting is. Extreme vetting in its rawest form and sense. Let's apply it to Donald Drumpf. We know about his mortgage company failure. We know about the 300 plus business failures out of approximately 308. We know about the 4 bankruptcies out of the 308 known companies. 4 currently run in great debt. So out of 300 plus companies, Drumpf has 4 successes, 4 bankruptcies, and the remainder business collapses. Belly up companies that are a shell and died in the foam of the ocean waves, washing them out into nothingness. 0 return, 0 gain, 0 benefit, but to anyone but Drumpf, who used that business like a cash drawer at a bank, taking out what he wanted at the time he wanted it, and then letting all the employees go home without a paycheck and collapsing the whole thing into dust. Now we get to vetting Donald Trump's campaign, his run for power, his leap at the White House, as it were, a gigantic, incompetent, failed wreck of a campaign, the worst on record, having scored the worst Gallup score for convention speeches of all time. Of all time. So poor that if Trump's immigrant mother had been looking on, she'd probably want to have had an abortion. The whole campaign has been a catastrophe, a disaster, an embarrassment, an absolute abysmal failure. Anyone who thinks it's not an abysmal failure needs to be tranquilized, like Drumpf looks like now while he's reading his teleprompter speeches. Drumpf talks about extreme vetting to make sure America is safe. Well, how about this for extreme vetting? Since we know about all his business failures, collapses, and bankruptcies, he has a 1.3% success rate. So apply that to how it would run this country. Now, aside from that, in terms of pure vetting to make sure America is safe, how about producing your taxes, Drumpf? That's what vetting is. Vetting the presidential candidate to make sure they are fit for office in every way. Not just the clothes they wear or the ugly roadkill hairpiece they chose to set atop their empty head, but actually looking at physical evidence of who and what that character is, especially when it's relying on its business savvy, financial acumen, and expertise at handling matters of financial and economic importance. That is what is truly important to the American people and to America. What matters to the American people? The economy, dummy. Well, let's vet Donald Drumpf. Drumpf isn't even a president, isn't involved in politics, isn't a government official, and wants to vet people for specific reasons of keeping America safe. Well, the president is an enormous part of keeping America safe. So let's vet Donald Drumpf. Enough with the excuses. Let's see the taxes. That is vetting, and it's not even extreme. Extreme we'd be peeling the guy like an onion, looking at every one of the thousands and thousands of lies he's told during this election cycle. For every one lie that President Hillary R. Clinton spins, Drumpf has told 100. And hers are to protect blemishes, human imperfections that we all have. Drumpf's are insane, wild, crazy, pole vaults over reality that pale in comparison to anything you've ever heard, that literally obliterate any of the single and conglomerate lies that Clinton has ever told.
I know more about ISIS than the generals do, believe me.
Donald Trump's lies are dangerous. They're selling fantasy. Hillary Clinton's lies are to straighten her bow tie, to take a wrinkle out of the shoulder of a suit, to make her look a bit more appealing. Trump's are terribly dangerous. He's an ineffectual, unemotional, greedy, self-interested, egocentric, egotistic, egomaniacal, vile, repulsive, anti-American piece of shit. It would be best to deport Drumpf. If we were to use extreme vetting on Drumpf in the way he's suggesting towards American citizenship, he would have been rooted out. He doesn't know anything about our Constitution, and he thought he was being viciously attacked by Khazir Khan for pointing out the fact that he doesn't know anything about the Constitution or America's foundational principles. Mr. Khan wasn't viciously attacking thin-skinned, cowardly pussy Donald Trump. He merely asked a question, and that question should be asked over and over to Donald Trump. Do you know anything about this country? Because your extreme vetting is anti-American. And when we turn it around and point that lens at you to make sure America's safe, we have to ask again and again, show us your taxes. You took the star exemption in New York, indicating that you make far less than $500,000 measly dollars a year. You are not a billionaire if you make $500,000 a year. You are in the lower end of the middle income spectrum. Now show us your taxes, show them now.
He also says that he's not going to release his tax returns while he's being audited. Is there something from the IRS that forbids him from releasing his tax returns?
Well, again, with my caveat that I can't talk about individual cases, the taxpayer controls his returns. There's nothing in an IRS audit process generally that would keep you from sharing that information any way you wanted to.
Okay, so then what do you make of his claim that he needs the audit to be cleared up?
We stress that we're in tax administration, and so we have no stake in any of the primaries going on, and whatever the comments are being made by candidates. As I say, from our standpoint, if you're being audited and you want to do something else, share that information with your returns, you can do that.
So just through the normal, regular presidential vetting process, Donald Trump, show us all your taxes. That's vetting. Extreme vetting? Yeah, maybe would require waterboarding with Trump, which he approves of.